everybody, welcome to episode 2 of Toy Guys Talking, and it's my honor to have Rodimus Primal on the channel. How you doing tonight, Roddy?
How's it going?
And Roddy gave me permission to call him Roddy, but
yeah, well,
I'm already getting annoyed, so I can't imagine what you're. They'll just call you the Hot Rod. But, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right.
Awesome.
You know, just spending some time with with my family and writing some scripts, trying to get some new videos out, and that's about it.
So. It was awesome chatting with you. Hope you have a great night. And everybody, to join the look how confused he looks. What's happening here? To join the tribe, hit subscribe. No, we're going to chat for a bit. And so you cover Transformers.
Until next time, till all are one, right?
Till all are one. Do you ever, you're primarily Transformers on your channel. Do you ever venture out into some of the other toy lines?
I not on my main channel. I tried doing like a lot of movie reviews, and I tried doing video game reviews, but nobody really cared for like that content. It seems like Transformers is like what everybody wants to see me make content for. So I actually just recently created a second channel, Rodimus Primal Talks, so I could talk more about that stuff. Like I just did a King Kong versus Godzilla review, on that second channel, and I've got some other stuff that I want to do because I want to talk about G.I. Joe and Thundercats and He-Man and Voltron and you name it, like Godzilla, Star Wars, Marvel, anything, because as much as I love Transformers, and Transformers has always been like my number one franchise, I like to, I venture into pretty much anything. So I'm pretty much a fan of it all.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Me too. Like when I put my toy collection together, I didn't want to just have the whole room be Transformers or just be G.I. Joe. I wanted to recreate that feeling of Toys R Us in the 80s. So the reason it was so magical, I call it garnish. So the Joes and the Transformers and the He-Man, those were important. But it was nice having the Silverhawks right beside them and the Thundercats. Yeah. And when I started to add those smaller lines, I'm just taking a look around the collection, Centurion's Mask, Brave Star. When I started to add that stuff. Yeah, but
nobody talks about Centaurians. I love the Centaurians.
I do. I wish I could talk about it more, and I definitely will be. But when I started to add those other toy lines, everything just seemed to feel more fun when you had. It drove me crazy as a kid, the different scales. But now, like, looking at the complete collection, I'm like, yes, big, small, up and down. But yeah, I know all about that too. Sometimes when you start doing a particular thing and then you try to venture out into something else, you do get a tiny bit of backlash from a few people who are like, no, I only love what I love and do what I love. And I think it's really important to ignore those people. And just don't
create
panic.
The content you want. Yeah.
Don't panic, people.
Yeah. Well, I'm always trying to help, to do what I can to grow my own channel. And so I will, that's the whole reason why I created the second channel, just so I can start to venture out a little bit more, because, my main channel is just everybody knows me as the Transformers guy. Yeah. Because it's like encyclopedic knowledge. Like one friend said, you are literally walking Transformers encyclopedia, where I could sit there and go, oh, that was that character in that episode, or especially G1. Like G1 is my go-to, with anything, which is probably why movie fans scream at me when I tell them no, Optimus Prime should not be executing Sentinel Prime in the back of his skull. That is Murderous Prime, not Optimus Prime.
Well, I felt the same way for a while until I started to realize that's 2015, 16, 17, 18. 2019 Optimus Prime does that. 1984 Prime doesn't do that. And I've kind of taken a step back and realized that it's just a reflection of the times. So 1984 Prime, 85, 86 Prime was a reflection of 84, 85, 86. The Prime today is the way he is because it's a reflection of the times. Everything has to be badass. Badass sells. Yeah. So they've turned Prime and Superman into badasses, and those characters were not conceived to be badasses. And I talked a little bit with Ben about it, Joe fan. How did Captain America dodge this badass bullet? Because he's not badass. He is as genuine to the original concept of Captain America.
They turned him into a villain in the comics. That's what they did. They turned him into a Hydra agent.
Well, I'm talking. I'm talking about the movies though. In the movies, he's Captain America, like the same old Captain America we've always known and loved, the golly gee gosh guy.
Yeah, and the thing is like I'm a firm believer that some characters, no matter how much the times change, should remain the
Yep.
same, because I honestly believe that characters are important to, like, we should want to be them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We should look up to Superman. We should look up to Optimus Prime. We should look up to Captain America. And the times might change, and society might change, but they have values that are like older than even than those characters were, at the time of their creation.
Yeah.
Like the like things that go back, like, you could say thousands of years. Just people had a particular foundation, and I would say maybe within the last 20 years, times have changed now where society deems those themes acceptable, but those characters, they have to change with the times, but those characters never changed with the times. Even Captain America never changed with the times. When people were doing drugs and stuff like that, what did they have Captain America doing? Don't do drugs, even though that's what made me as a character, but even so, those characters never changed their foundation. I mean, Luke Skywalker for 3 movies didn't change his foundation until somebody changed his character, because they felt that the character shouldn't remain the same, and keep their morals, their foundations, and what makes that character special for the audiences who watch him. And
Change
so,
for
like,
the sake of change.
Yeah, and like sometimes like if you want to create a new character, fine. Which is why, like, if you guys know, I mean, I'm a Rodimus Prime fan. And Rodimus Prime is so drastically different than Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
But I want Optimus Prime to remain the same. Give me a new character. Rodimus Prime is a new character, so to speak. Like, at least not now, because he was 86, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a new character.
And the really ironic thing about the Bay movies, maybe not in the first one. I enjoyed the first Bay movie. I might be in the minority, but I watched it and I went, that felt right. That didn't look right, but that felt right. And I find myself, as the years go by, saying that more and more. What does it feel like? Because the name and the look is not doing it for me. Because the Bumblebee movie came out, and everyone, or a lot of people, I'm trying not to group everyone together, but a lot of people went, G1 Designs. And I sat there going, I don't care about names and looks. Is the spirit back? So what's ironic about the Bay movies...
Speaking of which, I got it right here on Blu-ray.
But after the first movie, isn't Optimus Prime in the Bay movies basically Rodimus Prime? Right down to the flames and the chrome and the hot head and... Well, not really hothead, but he's much more Rodimus than Optimus in the movies.
Yeah, and I think that's what people really didn't care for. Like why people who are big time fans of Optimus, looked at the character. I was just talking to another YouTuber at a convention, and he was telling me, he goes, as soon as I saw that, Dark of the Moon, that execution of Sentinel Prime, that was it for me.
Me too.
That was like literally taking the character and, throwing the character out the window. And for me, honestly, I looked at like so many changes that they already made. Like Megatron was a big one for me. Megatron is a type of character that would say, I belong to no one.
Yep.
And
Megatron literally tried to con a god.
Yeah.
Like if you go by Simon Furman's Origin of Unicron, he tried to con a god.
Yeah. Like why am I doing? Okay. You'll do my bidding or face my wrath, and that's a great way to look at it. Like, okay, he's already, and this is why I'm also a believer that Galvatron should always be Megatron, even though Simon Furman decided to change it in the IDW comics. It's just one of the things that I didn't care for. But there are changes in certain characters, I think, that I don't think should change for the sake of change. And
so fill me in with characters remaining similar, and I want to talk to first about the name Rodimus Primal. How'd you come up with that? And then I wanted to ask you, what are some Rodimus incarnations you feel are true to the original movie version?
Well, I'm also a fan of the season 3 Rodimus too. Like I like that unsure leader. He's, especially now as an adult, I've been in management before and felt that pressure of I'm filling in for the guy who was like everybody praised and everybody still talks about and everybody still says is the, one of the best, persons before me, and here I am, I'm filling in those shoes and trying to do my best, and I feel like that weight and that pressure. And so like I really related to Rodimus Prime in season 3 of the cartoon for that reason. And but then as I got older, because I was a kid in the 80s and a teenager in the 90s, and Beast Wars came out. And by the time that Beast Wars came out, I was like out of Transformers. I was into X-Men, Spider-Man, and Ninja Turtles, and chasing girls, and everything else like that. And then Beast Wars came out, and I was like, it's okay, all right.
It's not
But then,
Transformers though, but I got to tell you that Kenner in the bottom corner piqued my interest. Like, what?
right.
What is going on here? Kenner
Yeah.
is making Transformers.
Well, Kenner was bought by Hasbro by that point,
I know,
but
I know, but it was.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's a strange, just a really weird call to bring back Transformers and not stick the beloved old Hasbro logo in the bottom corner, but to stick the Kenner logo?
Yeah, well, G2 was a commercial failure. So like it was like dead on arrival. And so G2, like I remember buying a lot of a bunch of G2 toys. I mean, I love my G2 Megatron, and it's a big giant green tank.
I was in withdrawal and I needed G2 just because I'm like, it's been too long, and the last thing they gave us was Action Masters, which doesn't count for me. So even though Transformers came out,
some people really like Action Masters, but I know someone who actually does customs of Action Masters. He repaints like a whole bunch of them and sells them and stuff like that. But like again, you were having Transformers withdrawal, and Beast Wars came out, and it kind of was like so weird at first, but then I watched the show as it went on, and especially the second season. They made it connect to G1, like it's the far future of G1, but they time traveled to the past. So they're on prehistoric Earth, and they went into the place. And Larry DiTilio and Bob Forward, who were already writers of He-Man, so they're clever writers. They got Benson Yee as a consultant as a fan to come in and bring G1 to people who know nothing about Transformers. And they were like, we want to make this special for people.
So they keep doing this in all of the movies and even the comics. You just mentioned it, where they change this thing that's been ingrained almost in our DNA. It's almost in our DNA that Megatron is Galvatron. Don't mess with that. And they mess with it. And then the movies, right? That's not Prime. Why are you messing with that? That's why I love Beast Wars, because they didn't mess with anything. When they go into that arc, my mind was blowing.
Yeah.
Because they're all there. And whoever did this episode has watched more than meets the eye. Like they're not changing anything.
Yeah. There's Megatron, there's Starscream, there's Soundwave, there's this one, there's that one. You're sitting there like, oh my gosh. And so like I fell in love with Beast Wars at that point.
Yeah.
Like and finding out that knowing now that Optimus Primal is a different character than Optimus Prime, already being a Rodimus Prime fan, around that time message boards started becoming a thing.
Yep.
And so joining message boards, trying to talk on alt.toys.transformers, and trying to talk on
is that stuff still around?
I don't know if it still is. It might be archived, but people. This is where a lot of where my channel actually came from, was from those types of conversations, like on those early message boards, and joining them and trying to type. The first name I actually tried to become was Rodimus Prime, which is already taken, so you can't take it. So already being a Beast Wars fan, Beast Wars is hot at the time. I took the name Rodimus Primal, and from there I kept the name. And then from there, every message board or thing that I joined was just Rodimus Primal. And so that's where it came from, was taking that, like, if there's an Optimus Primal and an Optimus Prime, there's a Rodimus Prime, there's a Rodimus Primal.
Yeah.
So
it's too bad they never introduced Rodimus. Like, I always felt in Beast Wars, Cheetor kind of took the place of Hot
took that
Rod.
role. Yeah.
And he would have been...
He took both. I would say he took Hot Rod and Bumblebee combined.
Yeah.
That's like his character was kind of like a cross between, which is the same thing they did with Hot Shot and Armada.
So he's like the little brother, but also the hothead. And it's too bad they never had him just, what happened with Rodimus Prime, ascend to the leadership role They just,
Right.
I didn't watch most of that final, what was it called? Beast Machines?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about. I watched the first couple episodes and I went, you've changed things that are
It's
ingrained in my, they're
Yeah,
so
because you've
good.
already watched 3 seasons of a good show.
Yeah.
Like especially like season 1 is rough around the edges, but once you watch season 2 and 3, you want to go back and watch season 1, and you really enjoy Beast Wars. But then watching Beast Machines, it really takes a lot to like get through those first couple episodes before they start getting into anything that's like any resemblance of good. And the show actually starts to get better. But then the ending, I did not care for the ending at all.
And that's a really weird one too, because it kind of reminds me of the Bay movies. Everything looks right in Beast Wars,
Right.
or Beast Machines. Everything looks right. Everything sounds right. It's the same voice actors. Why is everything so crappy? So
Yeah.
like when I'm listening to Peter Cullen in the later Michael Bay movies,
Right.
again, I'm confused. Like you got the guy. This
Yeah.
is the guy. Why do I hate this?
Yeah.
Or not, why don't I love this?
Or they got Frank Welker back as Megatron
Same
for
deal.
4 and 5, right? Like they got him for 2 for Soundwave, and then decided not to give him the vocoded voice,
Yeah.
which I thought was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they got John Bailey for Bumblebee to do Shockwave and Soundwave. And I don't know if you know who John Bailey is. He's the Epic Trailers guy. He does the
Oh yeah.
yeah. He's the guy who does whenever they do How It Should Have Ended, and they have someone doing Optimus Prime in that.
Yeah.
That's him doing the voice for that.
It's really too bad they didn't get Dan Gilvezan. Like it's a trend in every single movie and show to bring back the old crew that
Yeah.
helped make it what it is. And Dan Gilvezan he's still a great voice actor. He's a wonderful human being. I chatted with him at a toy convention one time. Just awesome guy. And I know he's done a video game or two, but it's really disappointing to me that that new Bumblebee movie isn't starring Dan Gilvezan as Bumblebee.
I think I saw an interview with Michael Bell, and he said like they didn't want us. They didn't want nothing to do with us. And I think what it was, like Michael Bay himself has admitted was never a fan of G1. He wasn't even a fan of Transformers.
Yeah.
In fact, he was such an anti-Transformers guy. He was all about making Optimus Prime look completely different. If you look at the preliminary designs for what Optimus Prime looked like, he didn't have the horns. He didn't have the faceplate.
Right.
They were like, okay, well, we'll give him a mouth and we'll make the faceplate come up. And
They
not
even
make him
changed what kind of truck he is. So I wanted to talk to you about that. So clearly you're not a big fan of the Michael Bay movies as a whole, right?
Right. As a whole. Yeah.
What did you think of Bumblebee?
I thought Bumblebee was a step in the right direction.
Yep. So exactly, we're on the same wavelength there. So then those Bay movies made a ton of money, and a lot of Transformers success today is thanks to all of the people who went and saw those movies and loved them. It's not like they walked out of it like Last Jedi hating it, and the
Right.
Last Jedi cleaned up, but it didn't make a lot of people happy. Those Bay movies put a lot of smiles on faces, and
Yeah.
that's the problem. Like I'm
Yeah.
sitting here going, it didn't work for me. I'm glad so many people enjoyed it, but like I'm trying to understand, how did you love that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it has to do with the fact that Transformers has rebooted more than once before the first 2007 movie.
RID and Armada and
Yep.
everything, Energon.
Yep. So like having more than one universe for Transformers. And also, it's not like they didn't give us Transformers. We did have a truck turn into a robot. We did have a plane turn into a robot. They didn't look like anything that we recognized. Like you can't just squint at the robot mode of Starscream and say that's Starscream. You'll say that looks like a hulking gorilla with a chicken face and monkey arms and just looks terrible.
I always thought they looked like C-3PO in the Phantom Menace, just like this sad, wiry.
That's a pretty good way to describe it. It's kind of like they're incomplete robots. They're
naked protocol droids.
Yeah. And so they're not complete. Like all their circuitry is showing. Like why are all the gears there? Megatron looks like he walked through a trash compactor and walked out alive somehow.
Yeah.
Or pretty much battle damage Megatron when he meets Unicron. That's what they decided to make Megatron look like. Well, actually, that Megatron in there looked better than what Michael Bay did to
Yeah, it
Megatron.
just looks like he
You
got
know,
compacted and pulled back.
just complete everything is all over the place, pieces everywhere. His fingers look like I just can't stand it.
Yeah.
Like it drives me nuts. And everyone goes, yeah, but doesn't he look awesome? And I say, but that's not Megatron.
Well, it's yeah, like I'm far past the days of arguing with people about if something looks good or not. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm all about like if someone thinks it looks awesome, I go, okay, you think it looks awesome. That's awesome. And I don't even like try to share my opinion anymore, because a lot of the people who are so self-absorbed and they
Right.
put their head down and they start huffing and puffing and, no, shut up, it's awesome. The people who do that don't want to know your opinion. And
Yeah.
they actually, quite honestly, don't have the empathy to even get your opinion if you tell it to them right to their face.
Yeah,
They
well, they
just won't
start
get it.
yelling and screaming at you, and call, and then they start, using a broken records to start calling you every name in the book,
Yeah, it's not worth
which
it. It's just
is
not worth it.
scratch your head. You go like, okay, like I'm a hardcore Transformers fan. I appreciate what the Michael Bay films brought to Transformers, but what I don't appreciate is the idea that change for the sake of change and make things like alter things completely. And then when you tell them like, well, originally it was supposed to be like this, and they look at you and go, yeah, but that's garbage. What you like is garbage. Like they literally like the people who are Bayformers fans now are hardcore haters of G1.
Well,
Like they
it's a clash
hate
of
G1.
values. It's just a
Yeah.
clash of values.
Yeah.
One good way, and these people can tend to be very, like I said, self-absorbed, lacking in empathy. And I just don't bother with them, because I used to have this technique where when they would devalue something that someone else was passionate about, like they would love their thing so much and they would say, what you love is garbage. It's garbage, garbage, garbage. And I'm like, okay, I acknowledge the fact that what I'm passionate about has the value of garbage to you. What are you passionate about? And I would always ask this, what are you passionate about? And I thought I would get them. I'm going to get them, because they're going to say something like, I'm passionate about, who knows, stamps. And I could go, stamps are stupid. They're so dumb. It's garbage. But more often than not, they wouldn't be passionate about anything. Like these people who, in my experience, so vehemently defend, let's use Bayformers as an example, they're actually not that passionate about it. Like from the people that I talk to, like they like
Some
it.
are.
They dig it, they like it, but like I could never really get them to give me something that they're so passionate about. What I'm trying to say is that they were happy about it. Like the people we're talking about, I think we've both had similar experiences with them, are the people who are passionate like this, like angry into something.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about like what makes you happy, what makes you glow, what makes
Right.
you radiant with joy. Like
Yeah.
I pick up a He-Man and I go, man, I'm so lucky to have grown up on this. And I'm so lucky to have this 30 years later.
Or even now going and seeing some of the stuff. Like I know some people like love the super, like either have a love hate with Super 7, but those Masters of the Universe classics, like the ones with the Filmation, look that they're bringing those toys out. And mind you, like you have to pre-order if you actually want to get it. And I haven't been able to get my hands on one of them,
Actually,
but I've seen them in person and they look amazing.
No, you can get them on Big Bad Toy Store.
Oh, they actually sell them? Okay.
Yeah, so Super 7 sells them directly from their website. And then Big Bad Toy Store, you can get the whole set or individual. And the funny thing is, like, the stuff from Super 7, the reports are, like, if you're a mint on card collector, they're shipping, a lot of the time, the boxes get smashed and kicked around. And so you get cards with bent edges and stuff if you care about that. But Big Bad Toy Store, I've been ordering from them for years and years.
I still gotta get my bag of loot.
they pack it like it's plutonium. Like it is in really sturdy boxes with bags inside, the bag padding, and like everything is always pristine whenever I get it from Big Bad Toy Store. So that's ironic. Like thanks to Super 7 for doing them. I love them. But I'm getting them from Big Bad Toy Store because, I want to keep some of them mint on card.
Yeah. Well, I like to see the articulation on the toy, and I like to see like what different things it can do, which is probably why like I don't care for like sometimes the Masterpiece toys that come out now, like they have different hands. Like, why don't you just give me an articulated hand
Yeah.
if you're going to go through the trouble of making like 4 or 5 different hand grips, like for the right for the right hand, one with a finger like this, and one with a finger like this, and one with a finger like this. Like, give me articulated fingers.
Yeah.
Like I don't give me like different faces. Like I can imagine faces. Like I'd rather.
Don't you love this deal where the thumb doesn't move, but these three together move, and this one
Oh yeah.
moves?
Yeah,
What?
because they want the
It's
trigger finger, right?
It's the
Or,
best
yeah,
of both worlds.
have you seen the new Jetfire? I'm in the Skyfire camp, but the new Skyfire toy that they showed off at the Siege one. He's going to close his hand, and a 5mm peg is going to pop out, so that you can put his gun into that 5mm peg.
Okay.
But when you open up the hand, it goes back inside his hand. Like,
Okay.
it's so weird. Like, so it's going to be open. It's going to be open like this, and then you close it, and then a 5mm thing pops out, so you can put the gun in that hole, so you don't have to worry about the hand losing grip on the gun.
It's
It's
kind of. I'll have to see it and do it to
Yeah.
form an opinion on it.
John Warden was actually showing it off at Toy Fair, and he was also showing off that he, because he started off as a friend of Starscream. He starts off with the Decepticon symbol. You can flip it over to the Autobot symbol.
Right, that's cool.
So
that's one
so
of
I
those
think
little details that makes you go, this guy not only watched the episode, he watched it twice or 3 times. Like this, I love those little extras, and a lot of the time the third-party companies were known for doing that. Like they'll include, what was it with X-Transbot's Beachcomber? I think he came with a golden hand. Because, yes, the Golden Lagoon, right? Yeah, he should have a golden hand.
Yep.
It's those little touches from just one episode, but that episode's special, right? So include it. It's not a throwaway. And when they do that symbol switching on Jetfire/Skyfire, that's exactly the same thing. That's a special moment.
Yep.
And that's what these things should do. They themselves are special moments from our past. And how about giving us special moments in those special moments? It just makes it more special.
The jet, like the years ago, they released a Power Glide that was Voyager size, and if you flip open his chest, he has a heart molded into the actual chest.
I just got one from DX9 Richtofen, I think he's called.
Okay.
So third-party Power Glide. Yeah, you open it. He comes with the girl who loved Power Glide.
Yeah.
So a little PVC or something like that, little tiny figurine, kind of like Raoul that came with Masterpiece Tracks.
Yep.
So not posable.
And then a small little blaster he came with, the Masterpiece Tracks.
But the thing opens and he's got the heart. And like, again, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The little special moment from his episode. He only had one where he was really the main character.
I think he had 2. He had Make Tracks, and I think, what was the other one? Make Tracks was the big one that everybody knew about. And then there was another episode. No, for Tracks.
Oh, Tracks.
Tracks had more than one episode.
Yeah.
But Power Glide had the girl who loved Power Glide.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And
Power
then,
Glide had like the one main starring episode. Tracks had Make Track. I think he had a pretty big role in Autobop too with Blaster.
That's it. Yep. And Blaster that's the one where Soundwave actually laughs.
Yeah, it was so freaky.
And you're sitting there like it was the Dancetron.
Yeah.
Which the Titans Return / Bumblebee movie exclusive, folds out into the base mode. And then, it's supposed to be a base, but I think Toy Hacks made the labels for Dancetron for the base mode of Soundwave, which is a cool touch. Like, you can put all those labels on him and make him Dancetron. Yeah. So like, it's stuff like that. Like you said, like, it's, even if it's an aftermarket label to put on the toy, like stuff that you remember about the character. Or the Sea Spray, the Titans Return Sea Spray has, in Cybertronian letters on his forearm, Alana.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like a link for that one episode where he had the girl.
Yeah. And
it's just one episode. Or the female Transformers only show up in one episode, but you'll remember them forever.
Yeah.
You'll remember Power Glide was with Moonracer, and Chromio is with Ironhide, and Firestar was with Inferno, and Alita 1 was with Optimus. And then, of course, they gave Orion, like David Wise, when he wrote War Dawn, nobody knew, like they had to tell him, like, no, he has a girlfriend nowadays, so they had to add the line in. Actually, he didn't write it in the script. They did it after the fact, that Alpha Trion says a female warrior. I'll call her
Right.
Alita 1. He didn't write that in the script. That was added after he already submitted the script for the episode.
And that
So
what's great about that is those 80s cartoons always get dismissed as toy commercials, right?
mhm.
And I think that is really, really ignorant to just dismiss all of that heart, soul, passion,
Yep.
artistry, great morals, great lessons, great action too. Hey, the
Yeah.
cinematography, everything, the imagination, dismissed as a toy commercial. For me, when someone goes, those stupid 80s toy commercials, they just revealed themselves to me. Like
Right.
how they don't really look into things. They just look
Yeah.
at things at surface value. Adding that line in there is so cool because it wasn't to sell a toy. There was
Right.
no Alita toy. There wasn't going to be. It's not like someone planned 30 years later in a line called Siege, we're making an Alita one. No, they just threw that in there because they loved what they did. And they thought, wouldn't that be cool continuity?
Yep.
Because,
Because
writers
Alpha
are
Trion
starving.
returns more than once.
And
You
writers
know.
are starving for continuity. Like a writer who's hired to write just wants to write a good story. And I've talked to a couple of the writers from Sunbow, and what they always say is we didn't care about selling toys. We wanted to tell a good story. And I would ask them, like, I'm always interested about what was Hasbro's involvement. Like, were they sending you memos every day? We need, 45 more seconds of Ironhide because we have this many units that are still sitting on shelves and we need to sell Ironhide. No, the writer said we got to do what we wanted pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
Hasbro didn't mess around with us.
Think they would say, like, when you add this character into the episode, like, you at least have the character there.
Yeah.
Or something like that, but they wouldn't necessarily, like, the story they were telling was a story they were telling.
That's right.
David Wise wrote War Dawn as an aerial bot story.
Yeah.
He didn't write it as the origin of Optimus Prime. It ended up being the origin of Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
And which I thought was amazing, because he was just writing it because he wanted the aerial bots were young, and I think he wrote the key to Vector Sigma.
Right.
So it was a link to that storyline from the way that the characters were introduced in the key to Vector Sigma. And Vector Sigma didn't exist in the comics. Well, actually now if you go by continuity now, is they think they retcon back in that Vector Sigma is a component of Primus.
Yeah.
So like the comics and the cartoon actually do merge. So that there is that, but even so, like, it's that kind of stuff that even comes down later down the line that, like, goes back to, stories that we know and cherish and love. And it may have just been one episode,
Yeah.
and you get so, like, it's just like something that, like, I think Flint Dille said it himself. A character like Dirge is going to have one line in the cartoon, so you might as well make that one hook, like, death comes to the one who crosses me, like,
That's
death
right.
with this, and so make death, and that's how you'll remember Dirge. Sunstreaker, he may not get a lot of screen time, but you'll remember the fact that he doesn't like his enamel getting brushed up.
Yeah.
So, like, it's things like that the writers realize, I need to make this character important, even if it's just with one line.
And case in point, like, that's why no one remembers Skids. He's the forgotten G1 Autobot car. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all magic. They're all awesome. All of the 84, 85 Autobot cars based on real cars, except Skids. He's like, and I know there's super Skids fans out there for things he's done in some of the other things, but as far as, like,
he got car wash with Jesse, or I think was it Jesse? What was the girl's name in the comic? Ah, man, what was her name? I know someone's gonna comment about this. It was
Sure.
like this. But she, like, was it was a comic that featured Skids.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So,
But in terms of the Sunbow show, he has, I think, I did a review.
two different voice actors. He has two different.
Dan
voice actors.
Gilvezan did a line too. I did a review on, you might actually be able to see him back there somewhere, the X-Transbot Skids that came out a while ago, and I was looking for cartoon clips to use. Buddy only said 2 lines in the whole thing. One of them was insecticide or something.
Yeah, it was like that one line.
Yeah, and
Right.
I had to keep reusing it because, like, guy never said anything else.
Yeah, I think he was in car mode when he said something, because it was
Yeah.
you can tell it was a different voice actor coming out of the car.
And it's a shame because if he had gotten his one episode, like Powerglide got his one, and everyone got Gears got his one featured episode. If Skids had his one episode, everyone would remember the crazy things that happened in Skids' episode. But
Yep.
But he was like, he got reduced basically to thrust, dirge, ramjet, background, Autobot warrior,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, I like that's why I said like I'll remember Ramjet as the guy who headbutted a horse. and if I'm going down, I'll take an Autobot with me, and then he rams Megatron. I've got morons on my team. Or no, what did he say? He goes, get off of me. It's just like that's what I'll remember Ramjet for. And Thrust I'll remember because he chased Chip Chase in Megatron's Master Plan. You know, and he was so adamant about destroying Teletran 1. Like, so I'll remember Thrust for that reason. Like, he literally charged through the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, how he was able to do that?
The first image that ever comes to my mind whenever I think of Thrust, for some reason, is he's the first guy Prime hits in Transformers the movie. Because there's so much build up. You know, Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost. That slow transform they give him. The music starts. The long shot. I mean, this is not how animated movies are done anymore, and maybe weren't even done at the time. The extreme long shot of Prime driving over the dam. It's almost peaceful. Yeah. It's almost Serenity, which goes in line with, like, I've always called Prime a peaceful warrior. And that's the peaceful aspect of him going to war. And all that amazing build-up, and wham, he hits Thrust. And like, yeah that's why I think Thrust was the first to go down for Prime's attack.
I love that because then he's like flying like to the side or whatever, and then a Blitzwing jumps out of the way, and you know then he guns down like every Decepticon. And then if you look at the deleted storyboards that were never animated, Dirge actually tries to tackle Optimus, and Optimus just like takes him and like slams him down into the ground. So when Megatron says, "Why throw away?" That's why he's getting up, because like Megatron says, "Why throw away your life so recklessly?" And Optimus is getting up after slamming Dirge.
Because it made no sense that he would, you know.
I mean, it looks awesome. It looks awesome, but they didn't animate that scene. And also, there was a death in the movie. Mirage was supposed to get blasted by Megatron. Like when the doors closed, like you know, and he says breach their defenses. Before that point, I think Mirage shoots down Bombshell, and then Megatron comes in and blasts, Mirage. So
that sucks, but that's, I guess, sweet revenge for Mirage's hand in the end of
Where It Meets the Eye Part 3.
Yeah, Part 3. Yeah, because he left Megatron like high and dry in that episode, so that would have kind of been full circle. Like, you know, I hated Ironhide and Ratchet and all those guys getting killed on the shuttle, but Megatron blasting Mirage would have been like, you know, I love Mirage, but you kind of had it coming.
Yeah. Well, I think it was supposed to be Smokescreen's body next to Windcharger in the storyboards, and Wheeljack was with Blaster when the Decepticons are retreating. So
that never made sense to me. It made sense that they were cleaning out the Year One guys.
Right.
But when I read about the deleted storyboards and
Trailbreaker's body was supposed to be there while Prime is fighting Megatron. They're supposed Megatron. If you know in Revenge of the Fallen when Megatron does that kick and knocks off Optimus's faceplate, that same kick is what Megatron gives to Optimus in the storyboards of the '86 movie, and it says like Trailbreaker's body, and I think Red Alert's body is.
That's another thing I didn't understand in the storyboards. Red Alert was going to die, and Trax too, I think, was going to be one of the victims.
Trax was supposed to make it out of there. It was supposed to be.
He was with Ultra Magnus, right?
Yep, Ultra Magnus rolls in with Sideswipe.
But killing Red Alert didn't make any sense to me because. Yeah. The movie's coming out in '86. Red Alert's still on the shelves.
Yeah.
Why would you kill an '85 bot? Didn't make any sense to me. And that's why they got cut.
You know, certain things in the movie, like I know that if you follow the storyboards, there are things in the storyboards that didn't make it into the movie, and some of it's probably for the better, and some of it would have been so much better if they did put it in the movie. Mm-hmm. Like I'm glad they didn't kill Shockwave because it gives him an opportunity to come back, because according to storyboards, Shockwave was supposed to die at the end of the movie when Unicron crushes the tower.
Right.
You know, like that Decepticon headquarters with the space bridge was supposed to get crushed by Unicron's maw or by his hand. So
I don't like the idea of anyone getting killed during that final battle. Like in the comic, it was fine because they were killing off guys like Quake and like some of the later guys who didn't have that much character development.
Yeah.
But to kill off such an awesome original character like Shockwave like that, I know you need casualties. but it needs to mean more than just stomp, 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 stomp. It would have been a really sad way to go out for anybody.
Yeah.
Like, imagine the Dinobots, Unicron reaching back and crushing the Dinobots when they're attacking his butt.
I think
Like,
fans would have probably walked out at that, because like
Yeah.
I think the Dinobots were like loved throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
You know, so to see them die would have been terrible. But
Or even like crushing the Junkion ship. Imagine that's how Magnus dies again, you know, and Wreck-Gar. Like, that's it. They're dead. Like,
well, the Junkions would have put them all back together anyway. But
that's true. But
you know,
I've never had a problem with because I'm always asked, how did you react to Prime dying in the movie? And it was very sad. And I remember the entire theater crying. All the kids were sobbing and crying, and I was sad. But I was able to appreciate the amazing send-off. Like, that is one of the best movie deaths ever.
Yep.
That's like Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you consider that a death. You know, like sacrificing yourself for a greater purpose.
Yep.
And he got to even take out almost the entire Decepticon army by himself, turn the tide single-handedly. They built him like, we talk about Prime today, like this legendary character. He wasn't until the movie. Like, that's what made the legend. He was beloved. He was beloved,
but he was definitely like he came like the hero comes in and like does his thing, and he has his last stand with Megatron, and it's their final battle.
Because you got to remember, in the G1 cartoon, the first 2 years, he got his butt whooped a lot. So he wasn't like, nothing can stop Prime. No, Megatron, it's been established over and over and over, Megatron can stop Prime. And they're about equal, but Prime's compassion is his weakness. Megatron has no known weaknesses. But it was the movie that really showed you, like, this guy, wow, he did it all by himself, and he didn't kill Megatron, but he sure smashed him to bits. And worse than anyone ever had.
You wondered, like even Optimus, even in the face of Megatron is crawling for the gun.
Yeah.
And Optimus chooses to
won't kill him.
Kind of not kill him, not show the mercy, say, hey, like, you went without mercy and now plead for it. I thought you were made of sterner stuff. And you're kind of like wondering, like, really, Optimus, you're going to monologue right now, but that's his character. That's his.
Don't make me do this. That
right.
I think what some people don't understand about that moment is what Prime is saying, without saying it, is, don't make me do this. And that's Prime's character for everybody. I mean, for the worst, for literally the biggest scum in the universe, don't make me do this. And that's also another reason why I call him a peaceful warrior. In Dan Millman's book, Way of the Peaceful Warrior, there's this mentor character who mentors Dan Millman, the author of the book. It's sort of based on a true story. And this old man who is this mentor is an incredible physical specimen, even though he's like in his 80s or maybe even his 90s.
Wow.
But he is an incredible, like, everything. He's very wise, but he also has, I wouldn't say a martial artist, but deadly physical capabilities. And they get mugged at one point. And he defends himself. And after he's done, if I'm remembering this right, Millman is all, rah, rah, yeah, we show those punks. And the peaceful warrior mentor character is crying. And he says, you have no idea what toll it takes to harm another person like this. And what you're doing is wrong. You just don't have a clue.
And that's
Prime.
What Prime, Superman, Captain America, all of those characters, the foundation that I was talking about before, that
I'll
when
throw
Prime
Duke
was
in there too from G.I. Joe.
Yeah, even Prime, even Duke. Duke sacrificed himself. He was supposed to die. Serpentor throws the thing into him to save his brother.
Yeah,
and he's like, he was supposed to die there so his brother would be better. You know?
I just can't imagine Duke ever putting a bullet in Destro or Cobra Commander's head. He would be the same one. Don't make me do this, and he would do it. Like, if it's in a situation where it will save a lot of innocent people, but I picture Duke also like doing that, not going, yeah, we showed those stupid snakes. Duke would carry that and go, bad day at the office. He wouldn't gloat and cheer and go, yes, more faces, please.
Yeah. Like Optimus in the movies, give me your face, right?
Yeah.
Like he takes out Grindor, right? Like just like rips his face in half, and you're just, mind you, that's in the middle of a fight. So like I was okay with Optimus killing Grindor because it's in the middle of, I've got 3 Decepticons dogpiling me.
Yeah.
I've got no other choice. But like give me your face when he kills the Fallen, or
The
like he
other
doesn't.
line that always bugged me was, "We're going to kill them all," or
Yes,
"I'm going to kill them
yes,
all," and that
or
that's
he kills Kelsey Grammer's character in the fourth one. like it's just like cold-blooded murder.
yeah,
Mind you, this is what the humans are doing, but you stoop down to their level.
yeah. And
you
Prime
know
Prime is the symbol of don't stoop.
yep.
Don't just because they do it. It's that old saying: if everyone jumped off a cliff, would you?
Yeah.
But everybody's doing it, and that was why the character resonated so well with so many people, because he said, "Take the high road."
Yep.
There's not much high road being taken in movies, it seems, these days. It's more
No.
about take the cool road, the badass road,
Right.
and that's they've gotten so far away. I talked about it with Ben as well. Like when we were growing up, we're from the same era. This stuff coming out was similar to stuff before it, but it had a new name. So He-Man, what was He-Man like?
Conan
The Barbarian, right? The Samaria. But they called it He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It felt so much like Conan, but a new name.
Yep.
And Star Wars came out, and that was Flash Gordon meets Hidden Fortress, Akira Kurosawa, right? But they didn't call it Flash Gordon, they called it Star Wars. So we kept getting reboots with new names, so there was no baggage. And
Think about it. It's a new universe. It's a new story to tell. Or in the case of like I love in the movie, in '86 movie, Arise Rodimus Prime.
Yes.
I love that moment in the movie. Like
still
that to
get
me
chills.
is, yeah, just hearing it, because you hear Peter Cullen saying Arise Rodimus Prime.
For all the people who trash the Hot Rod character and they go, he got Prime killed. What I don't think they understand is Prime isn't holding a grudge. He endorsed the guy at the end. He's imbuing him with all of his wisdom and knowledge and compassion, and Arise Rodimus Prime. He's not like looking from the Matrix going, oh, this D-bag. This guy got me killed over here. No, that was intended to say, get over your stuff, rise above it, be a better person, and help the people who come after you.
Yep.
I think that's a lesson that's lost on a lot of people who just won't let the Hot Rod thing, not getting out of the way go.
Hot Rod wouldn't let it go in the in some of the deleted lines in the script. I've read the 85. I have on my computer a PDF of the 85 script as well as the finished script, and even on both versions of the scripts, there are moments where Hot Rod is saying like, "It was my fault. It was my fault," and they were like, "No, that was Megatron." They say, "No, it was Megatron." And so Optimus is finally telling Hot Rod, "You've gotten over yourself. You went through this journey, and you believed that you were to blame. I don't think you're to blame. I'm telling you, you're the hero.
Yeah,
and you've risen above this."
I don't buy for a second Hot Rod caused anything. I just watched a Star Trek TOS episode. My wife and I do a segment on the channel here, a Star Trek voyage, where we're going through all the Trek from the beginning right up until the end. So we just watched the Kirk. Do you watch TOS, or have you watched Star Trek TOS?
Yeah, I've watched it.
We just watched the episode where Kirk encounters this cloud from his youth that wiped out a large portion of his crew when he was a lieutenant. And so he has this guilt because he had the opportunity to shoot at this alien cloud that was sucking the blood out of everybody, but he froze.
Was that a season 3 episode, or is that a season 2?
Called The Obsession or something like that.
Okay.
So he froze, and he missed his chance to shoot the cloud with his phaser, and he carries this guilt with him for years, because he thinks he could have stopped 200 crewmen being killed if he had just shot the cloud. And then in this TOS episode, the cloud returns and it's killing crewmen, and he's got a crewman who freezes and can't shoot it, and he's ragging on the crewman, "Why did you freeze?" But he's not really yelling at the crewman, he's yelling at his younger self, because it's driven him batty. "Why didn't you shoot it?" Well, the Enterprise shoots it, and nothing happens. They fire phasers, they fire proton torpedoes, whatever they're nothing.
I remember that
nothing
episode.
Affects
Yes,
it. Nothing
I remember that
affects
episode.
it.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
he
I was
goes,
trying to remember because it's been a while since I've seen that episode. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. It's like I'm trying to remember because like it's been a while since I've seen the original series, so it's like. So yeah, I do remember that. But go ahead.
so he realizes, I wouldn't have made a difference if I shot it, and this kid wouldn't have made a difference. Shooting it wouldn't have done anything. I feel the same way about Hot Rod being held by Megatron. If Hot Rod wasn't there, Megatron would have found another way. Like, I'm sure if you remove Hot Rod from the situation, Prime's not pulling the trigger. He ain't
Yep.
doing it. We've talked about it. Don't
Yep.
make
In
me do
fact,
this.
in
So what
the
happens?
in the
Boom.
Marvel comic version of the movie, the Marvel comic adaptation, Hot Rod's not involved at all.
Right.
Megatron just grabs the gun,
And
shoots,
shoots
boom.
him. That's
Yeah.
exactly what would have happened if there was no Hot Rod. And at very best, while Prime's going down, maybe he squeezes a shot off, maybe not.
Yep.
But I never saw that as Hot Rod causing anything. Like, Hot Rod does a lot of good in the movie. He gets, he saves Cup's life.
Puts them back together. They get out of the Sharkticon pit.
There's that little matter of destroying Unicron single-handedly.
Of course that's just a little thing, I mean, that's the greatest threat the Transformers have ever known is only minor.
Not just the Transformers, the universe. But I'm nitpicking here, like he destroyed Unicron, the Eater of Worlds.
Well, Eater of Universes, if you consider the comics where he's eaten 22.6. I'm off on the number, but
So I never held a grudge with Hot Rod. I just thought, like, the guy did. He's batting 50, or he's batting 500. At the very worst. So he's doing pretty good at the end of the day of that movie.
And then he had such great storytelling episodes in season 3. Whether it was the episodes where he lost the Matrix, like Dark Awakening or Bird and Hardest to Bear, which those are fantastic stories.
Yeah.
But also Dark Awakening. I mean, not Dark Awakening. Fight or Flee, Ultimate Weapon.
Right.
Those are great storytelling episodes for the character. At the end of Dark Awakening, the zombie Optimus, takes the Matrix out of his chest and he says, "You will save them."
And
puts
he
the Matrix
endorses him again.
Yep. And it was like a secondary endorsement.
Yeah.
And then there is Bird and Hardest to Bear. He loses the Matrix because he's being cocky, because he's so that burden of leadership. And I've been there, wanting to give up. You want to run away. You want to run somewhere and just look a beach, or drive down a deserted roadway or something, and you end up like losing something that important, and he has to gain it back. Mm-hmm. And he has to realize, like, no, this is who I am. This is exactly what I am supposed to be. I need to overcome that.
It's an important story. I mean, Transformers didn't have, I don't think, as many important moral stories as He-Man did. Definitely not as many as He-Man, and even G.I. Joe had more of a sense of duty. But that's an important story about duty, where sometimes you have to do not what you want to do or what you feel like doing. Sometimes you have to do your duty, and that's Optimus Prime. I mean, Prime hated fighting, but he did his duty, and I like that Rodimus Prime starts to get to that point near the end of season 3. It's too bad they pulled the plug on the character just as he was starting to accept his duty over his enjoyment.
Yeah, and that's something that, he should have had another season. They were making another Optimus Prime toy, the Power Master Optimus Prime toy. It was already, like, I think it was in development at the time, but they had to get that return done so quickly and so right away, which, by the way, if you don't know this, like the 80s TV show had a rush production schedule. Everybody harps on the animation errors and stuff like that.
Yeah, they did the best they could with what they had to work with.
Yeah. Like I saw a document, somebody was sharing it with the TF Wiki, and it had September of 86, the season 3 episodes that were still being worked on at the time.
Yeah.
Like the season wasn't.
So they were responding to those angry mothers when they cranked out Return of Optimus Prime 1 and 2.
Yep. Yeah. So it was like literally last minute. Yeah. So that's the reason why Toei didn't animate the battle damage on Optimus, that's one of my most, that's the video I have the most views on, is how did Optimus Prime come back?
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about a couple of things. You said you're a walking encyclopedia. So the two things, and we're coming up on about an hour here, so man, these just fly by, but let's talk about these two quick things. The battle damage. So he's shredded. He's missing half his face at the end of Dark Awakening, and he's doing okay at the beginning of Return of Optimus Prime Part 1.
Yeah. Well,
there's no explanation, but what? Yeah. How do you explain?
There's two ways to wreck on it. Number one is that I honestly believe that he was just a walking zombie, up until he was until the Matrix finally did its work. And he's like,
Repair
until
systems.
all are one, and the Matrix like actually like imbues him back with his spark. So like he like if you know like I'm kind of retconning some of like Beast Wars into it as well,
Yeah.
is that he kind of comes back to life, so to speak, and he gives the Matrix back to Hot Rod. And he's battle damaged beyond battle damage. He was supposed to be missing his parts. He was supposed to be missing like have the damage. In fact, Toei was given the instructions to animate it,
Yeah.
but they didn't.
Now refresh my
So
memory. In the beginning of Return of Optimus Prime, is he even missing an arm?
no, he isn't even missing an
Okay,
arm.
so that's a big
So
thing to get around.
yeah,
His arm is
so
back.
he's not missing his arm. So it's one of two things. It's either Toei just messed up and we have to overlook it, that he was still battle damaged and they just repaired him,
That is what happened. But
right? Or we have
in-universe
to look at it.
explanation.
You know, in-universe explanation is that his repair systems used every ounce of his energy to repair his outer shell, right? Regrow an arm,
It's awesome.
you know, and he went into stasis lock and he was like almost dead. And then the Quintesson revived him that way.
I like the Matrix idea. I never thought about it that way, but I like that idea that the Matrix kind of went, oh, now we're dealing with our old buddy Optimus Prime. I don't know if I can swallow the idea of an arm regrowing.
It's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. That definitely. That's one of those where you have to like go. You know,
almost as unlikely, but I'm going to go with this because I love the Junkions. Somewhere in between Dark Awakening and Return of Optimus Prime, you know, there's a couple minutes or hours there that we were in the dark and we didn't see what was going on. The Junkions found this thing and went, oh, what's this? And they just fixed him and they went on their way. Maybe he was like in stasis for...
Or his arm was there, or he picked up his arm before he went to the ship. The arm was there, and the repair systems like reattached it.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, so like in other words, he gave the Matrix back to Hot Rod. He gets up and turns around, goes and picks up his arm, and you know he puts it on the table because it's not able to get reattached. But all of a sudden, his repair systems are shutting him down, so he's not even active anymore. He's just on a collision course. His arm reattaches, everything gets repaired, and he's completely shut down. The two humans get on the ship, pick him up. You know, because his outer shell is perfectly fine.
Did you make a video about this theory?
I did, but I didn't go into that much detail.
Go into much detail, you'll get quite a few views on that. That's
like so that's kind of like where I was kind of the idea that I was going with. Like probably he like his repair systems went into it and he went into stasis lock and his spark was like there, but like everything shut down because he didn't have enough energon left to be functional anymore. So
and that's so much more fun theorizing like that than just saying animation error. And you know, that's what it was, animation error. But I'm asking people, which one do you have more fun doing? Saying animation error, lame, or how? Let's make this work. Let's fix this. Let's use our imagination.
My first video that I did on the channel, and that was like my start into this, was who became Cyclonus. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
And my theory is that it's Skywarp.
Bombshell is in the
Bombshell's in the forefront, and Skywarp is in the back, and the storyboard says that it was Bombshell's body. You know, and according to early scripts, it was just a dead Decepticon. Who it was didn't make a difference. But to me, it makes more sense that it's Skywarp.
Yeah, because the three Seekers, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that Scourge and Cyclonus are Skywarp and Thundercracker. And animation error explained away through fun, creativity, and imagination.
In fact, at TFCon LA this year, Flint Dilley pretty much stated that it's Skywarp.
Yeah.
Kind of off. He said, I could have told you in the fall of '86, but for now I'm saying it's Skywarp. That was his answer. And I was like, yes.
And you're allowed to have your own canon too. I mean, you know, bless the hearts of people who are always asking, what's canon? Is it official? It's okay if you have your own canon and if you march to the beat of your own drummer. And it's just Transformers. I know we love it. We're passionate about it, but it's just Transformers. There's no official Bible on Transformers, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's
And they reboot it now so many times now at this point that like those of us who are passionate about it are passionate because we grew up with G1. We
exactly.
grew up with the cartoon, and we got so passionate about this series and this cartoon and this toy line that it became like such an integral part, because like you said, the writers weren't writing toys commercials.
Yeah.
They were writing awesome stories.
They were
that
great.
we grew attached to.
They were and are, in many cases, great writers who wanted to write great novels, great screenplays, great this and great that. And sometimes you don't get to do exactly what you want to do in life, but you find the love in what you do. And I'm so grateful to all of the great writers who found the love in what they did. So there were some cartoons which were crap, because I don't think the writers and even some of the voice actors on some other shows took it serious. They went, I'm on a crappy kids show. Bless the people like Buzz Dixon and Flint Dille who got this idea and went, I'm going to do the best story I possibly can and watch this. And they did. It was just awesome, fantastic stories, incredible characters. And they didn't look at it as a drawback. They looked at it as, this is what an opportunity to play and create this universe. So,
I think that's what it is, that why Transformers now, like I would say sometimes even nowadays, like sometimes they've done like Transformers Prime has had some good storytelling here and there, and Animated had some pretty good storytelling, and some episodes of Robots, the Rid 2015, and some of those episodes of Cyberverse even, but they don't, like, there's something just in my eyes they're almost just they're mimicking what began in G1. Everything that was established in G1. They might be changing something because it's a different universe, but they're still in a ways mimicking G1.
The source,
and that's
the Matrix is G1. That's the
Yep.
source of everything, and it just kind of it leads. It's the light. It lights our darkest hour.
Yep.
But the other thing I wanted to ask you about, you just did a video on what happened to Jazz, and I was hoping you would address in Five Faces of Darkness. So by this point, Scatman Carruthers had passed away. And so,
he hadn't died when they made that episode, but he was sick.
Okay.
He was sick at the end of. They recorded his lines for the movie,
right.
and they were still recording episodes of season 2 towards the tail end.
So they weren't going to be able to get his recordings for Five Faces of Darkness?
No, there was no way, because he was too sick. In fact, Wally Burr did his voice in Krem Zeke.
Okay.
Because he was too sick.
So I wanted to ask you, because I don't think it was, you covered it in the video. They call him something like Argus Spankus?
Munka Spanka.
Munka Spanka. Please explain.
Okay. All right. So Jazz is in a race with other Autobots in a Galactic Olympics race. And then they say, you should have won. So it's going back and forth with Blur and Perceptor. So there's that event going on, and there's another event going on, and Munka Spanka won that event.
That name.
So, and they have the Argonon cluster. And, so they're cheering for Munka Spanka, but Jazz won this race over here.
I remember the scene, but why didn't Rodimus say, and the winner is Autobot Jazz?
Because ACOM animated Jazz.
So they just... Because I'm thinking, like, is this another Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali thing? Did he leave the Autobots for...
Well, I actually did a joke on that on one of my videos on the, the Who Died the Movie. And I had somebody I had my G1 Jazz toy and my the Power of the Primes Jazz toy. And last time I drank too much Energon, I entered my name wrong in the Galactic Olympics. I ain't no Munka Spanka, and so that was the joke. And then at the end of the video, he's in car mode, and it's the Power of the Primes toy, and Skids comes up. It's Skids too, so it was kind of funny, like having Skids have a moment. Yeah. And Skids is like, oh hey, I love the new body mold and the new tattoo. Make the Autobots great again. Like going along with the joke. Yeah. And I don't care what your politics are. I really don't. I don't care what your politics are. But take the joke for what it is. Yeah. And that was the point. Is like, the joke is, okay, it was on there. All right, so let's say make the Autobots great again. So take the joke and run with it. Yeah. So, and that's exactly what I did at the end of that episode. So on the Jazz video, I mention it, and I says, cover it, let it be what it is, because people are going to have their opinions. They either like the guy or don't like the guy. Forget the politics. I don't care about politics. Like I don't get political on my channel. So like, because it's not worth it. It's not worth the time.
Here's the thing though. There's people who are starving for bait. And they're out there, they're looking for a reason to be upset and to be angry about something. And you can put something out totally good-natured, totally tongue-in-cheek, absolutely nothing, like no cynicism, sarcasm, maliciousness intended. But that doesn't matter what you intended. What matters is what the person who is starving for drama wants.
Yep.
And if they didn't find that from you, they'll find something else that's even less appropriate to argue about.
Of course.
And I guess we can close on that because we should be wrapping this up soon. But dealing with, we both have YouTube channels, dealing with some of those people, those unpleasant people, because I'm sure you get a lot of positive feedback on the channel and love that encourages us. But I hear from a couple people who say, dude, you inspired me to start my own channel. And I'm very flattered by that, but I also like to issue a warning and say, it's not all sunshine. It's that Rocky speech. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yep.
Sometimes
it's a lot of hard work. Sometimes you got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go running up the Philadelphia steps. It's that same amount of work and time and energy we put into our videos.
And what you have to do, again, like appropriate talking to a Transformers guy, you got to take the high road. You can't stoop, like Prime said. You can't respond to the people who are so starving for drama and fighting and arguments and who come on and say some really not there. It's inhuman, right? It's inhuman. People call them jerks and trolls. And I use the word evil more and more these days. And that might sound very dramatic, but that's just what it is. It
is what it is. And every person has the capability of evil. But it's how we rise above that evil and be better people. And that is why the heroes like Optimus and Captain America and Superman and Luke Skywalker even should be that foundation should never change.
Yeah.
Because we should want to be that. We want to rise above everything else, all of this garbage that goes on around and people want to get, like you said, get drama. We should want to rise above and be better people.
And just pay attention to everything that you've done in your life. Like anyone who wants to start a YouTube channel, when you first encounter that stuff, it's not going to be pleasant. It might ruin your day. It might make you upset that someone can say something like that. But just remember, everything gets easier the more you do it, right? When you do a habit over and over and over again, it's like starting a new job and you're terrified and, I don't know what I'm going to do. 5 years later, are you feeling like that? No, you can do it in your sleep. It's another day at the office because of repetition. And that's a YouTube channel too. So as funny as that might sound, 2, 3, 5 years of, and luckily I don't get that much negative feedback, right? I'm so blessed to have so much positive feedback and encouragement and support. But life is all about balance, and you don't get all positive stuff. Sometimes things even out a bit, and you do get some of the people who honestly have problems. And I think it's always important to not fire back, not stoop, not engage in arguments. There are some YouTube channels who do similar things to us, and they always take the bait. And I don't follow that. As soon as I see that, I go, oh, that's your personality. I don't really want to follow what you're doing because you took the bait and you stooped. You hurled insults and stuff.
It's hard not to. Let me tell you something. It is really hard not to, especially when they keep, you see the same person making, comments, and you have to go, okay, all right, I either need to block you.
That's what the block is for.
I need to stop you. I can't talk to you, or I don't respond. Yeah. And I've gotten, it took me time to I had to I would walk away and just okay, let me think about what I should do, how I should handle this, because sometimes I just I could be like Rodimus and want to be hot-headed and jump into it and just like, punch first and ask questions later. Like, but sometimes you have to rise above that.
And you won't
So,
accomplish anything doing that. And that's
right.
something that I've learned in my life of arguing with people I thought were wrong, with people I thought were selfish or narcissistic. Those arguments, those debates, they never accomplished anything. I never had a person who I considered a bully or a jerk or evil ever go, yeah, you're right, man, I'm sorry. Never happened. All that happened was it just kept escalating and escalating. And every time I'd feel like an idiot for wasting my time. I'd be disappointed in myself for not cutting that, cutting it out 5 minutes earlier or a day earlier. I just go, what did I tried so hard and I failed. And the truth is you will fail with those people. You need to use those tools there. They're there for a reason. Things like moderation, comment moderation and blocking and stuff like that.
Yep.
You need to just distance yourself from that because it's like you are what you eat. You are what you listen to. You are who you interact with.
Yep.
So interact with awesome people. Spend that time on the people who support you instead of the people who are trying to pull you down.
Yeah, I try to like look at the positive comments, and if there's a lot of negative comments, like if someone just has an opinion about the video, about the character, let that be.
Yeah.
But if they're coming and attacking me, then it's like, okay, I got to delete your comment, got to, whatever, and just like, okay, you don't like me, that's fine,
Yeah.
And I've seen it because like, because I got a bald head, or because I got a New Yorker accent, because like they live in a place where like they don't talk like that. Like it's just, it is what it is.
Well, it goes for me back to empathy again. And empathy is a word that I started to think a lot more about as I got older. And it started to be the solution to all of like interpersonal problems with me. Mm-hmm. And I would always find like, a similar experience. It didn't matter what I wore sometimes when I first started out. Now, luckily, as the years go by, you're a little bit more known to people and people get a little more comfortable. There's that like backlash against the new guy. Who the hell do you think you are? Mm-hmm. I have my guys I like, and who the hell are you? But as the years go by and your audience starts to grow, that starts to shrink a little bit. But there will always be people who will hate your hat. So I wore this hat and there were people who hated it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't change it for them because I'm very picky about whose opinion I value. And so I can immediately go, that is an opinion that has no value to me. And, you can think whatever you want, but walk on. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's a little weird. Something's wrong when a person lingers and says, I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like you. Something's wrong there when a person can't just move on and be productive with their life and find something they do like. Yep. But if I would change it to a different hat, some days I would wear a different hat. I'd turn it backwards. I hate your backwards hat. I hate this. Some days no hat. I hate your hairstyle. And then, if I got a haircut and not because it was motivated by anybody, but because I felt like getting it, I hate your new haircut. Like, that's just how they're wired. And so as with any sort of training, over time, you just get better. You get stronger and better and quicker at saying no value, and it doesn't affect you anymore. That's hard for a lot of people to buy. They're like, oh, I don't understand how that doesn't affect you anymore. Well, training, man.
Roll with the punches. Roll with the punches.
It's like training. Squats, anybody do squats out there? If you don't do
I just did them today.
if you don't ever do squats and you try to do 50, you're feeling it. But if you do 50 squats every single day for 10 years, how hard is 50 squats? It's nothing. Look at these Mr. Universe guys who bench this insane amount of weight. And you ask them, is it hard to bench 100 pounds? No. And why is that? Well, because I've been doing it for hundreds of days. It's just
pounds. Oh, so sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that I'm gloating, but you get used to it. Well, I've been working out recently because I'm trying to lose some weight myself. But it's like, so like when you're talking about squats and lifting, it just comes with time.
You need to get one of those Junkion. What was it called? Junkion Workshop made a matrix. You need to get one of those and just open it and arise Rodimus Primal. I got
a funny story if you got time.
Yeah.
I was at RetroCon in Pennsylvania. And the showrunner had a toy matrix that you can open up. You put your fingers in it and pull it open.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
and it lights up, right?
That's the Junkion. It's Junkion something Matrix.
Okay.
Blacksmith, I think.
And the Cybertronic Spree was
The band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were at the convention. They recognized me. They're like, dude, Rodimus, what's going on? Thanks for taking the namesake and stuff. Like Hot Rod saying, like, thanks for taking the namesake. And RC had two beer bottles. And I was, oh, say you're double fisting it. You know, we were joking and stuff. It was funny. But I took the Matrix from the showrunner, who was running the convention, and I go to open it like this, and I was trying to be playful, so it was like I was being like making it like it was hard, like Thor's hammer or something like that. And so I go to open it, and hers, I guess the plastic, whatever, the handle keeps popping off on her, and the handle pops off. And I kid you not, people who recognized me turned around and said, "Rodimus, you broke the Matrix! Rodimus, you broke the Matrix!" And I'm like, yeah. So
what are you talking about? I saved your bacon. Unicron
right.
is up there blowing up right now.
The Cybertronic Spree, they did the same thing. Hot Rod took the Matrix and went to open it, and he popped the handle off.
Yeah.
And I was like, so what somebody was like, Galvatron said you broke the Matrix, like, because you remember in the episode Burden Hardest to Bear.
You broke it.
Yeah. So that's what we were referring to, and it was just so funny because both Rodimuses broke the Matrix. So
I have that Matrix, and you have to kind of really pull on it to open it.
It's hard. It is hard. Yes. So I pulled on it. It was just like, boom. I'm like,
it could be a good workout thing, actually, like those those old school spring things where you work your chest out. You could literally work out with that thing.
Maybe.
But I think that one is called the Junkion Blacksmith. I had the Diamond Select Matrix, which was quite a bit of money. Like now it's quite a bit of money, and even when it first came out, it was a little pricey, and I dropped it, and it shattered into like 1,000 pieces.
I have the Matrix of Leadership box set for the 98 episodes of the cartoon.
Yeah, that one too.
Yeah, so like that opens up too, and I think that was pretty cool. I'm actually looking for it. Do I have it like on the side over here on the box? Because I have the actual discs on my desk at all times. So because I'm constantly looking at a particular episode to try to figure out like the next video, and because it's constant work, you got to keep up with it. So
absolutely, yeah. So when I broke that Matrix, and you can't glue that together, it's it's resin or some kind of clay. So I ended up that one was really cheap. The one you can open up and it lights up. But what's the next thing you're working on for the channel?
There
yes.
Yeah, there it is.
One of the best box sets ever put out for any show. Love it.
Definitely. I'm actually working on. I've got like literally 8 scripts on my computer in the works. None of them are like record ready yet. But I have an idea of what the next maybe 1 or 2 will probably be out of those 8 scripts. Because I look at the comments, people are like, you should do this, or from that you should do this. Or when I make a video, I'll get an idea from the making of that video for the next one. Yeah. And it's like this past couple of weeks have been a little bit of like a writer's block. So trying to get the jazz video out, getting the DevCon video out, like just thinking about the next idea. And then when I went to this convention this past weekend, I was like, oh, I could do that. Like people were just kind of like talking about stuff. And I was like, I can do that. I can cover that. I can cover this. So I'm actually looking at Cliff Jumper.
Ah, cool. Casey Kasem.
Yeah. Which why wasn't he in season 3? And that is because Casey Kasem got offended over Carbamia.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He got it because he's of Arabian background. And he got offended, because they were joking, because I think some of the the dictators at the time like resembled Foucault or whatever, the Democratic Socialist what was the name? The Republic of Carbamia, like the President of Life for Life and King of Kings.
Was Carbamia in 2 episodes?
He was in 5 Faces of Darkness. And so that was like right there.
But was it in a season 2 episode also?
No, it was season 3.
Season 3, okay.
Right from season 3. Because Cliff Jumper was all the way up until like towards the end of the show, like towards the end of season 2.
He's in the movie too.
Yeah, he's in the. Well, the movie was recorded in the middle of season 2.
Okay.
So like they didn't finish all of season 2 yet, which is the reason why the combiners weren't in.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, because the combiners came at the tail end of season 2, and they had already had recorded the movie.
Okay.
By that point, so that's why they weren't like back end stuff. Why they weren't there?
Probably for the best. What would they have used Cliffjumper for anyway? You know, like it would have been.
His toy was replaced by Hubcap.
Yeah.
And that him and Bumblebee were sold in 2 different colors, right? The red and yellow were switched on both of them, and then Cliffjumper in packaging had the different toy, which we used to call Bumble Jumper.
Yeah.
Right. And and now after the Dreamwave comics goes by the name of Bumper.
Yeah.
So, which I thought was a pretty cool, like, why couldn't fans have just done that in the beginning, like just called him Bumper, as a bum and burr, like, taking the 2 of them together, and we called him Bumble Jumper. Yeah. Doesn't roll off the tongue very well. And people also don't know that the cars, the reason why they were super deformed versions of the cars is because Takara makes the Korokyu toy line, and that's where the Penny Racers came from. Which Korokyu is Penny Racers in the U.S., where you take a penny and put it at the bottom of it, and it makes a wheelie. But they were super deformed cars, and Takara just took that mold and say, let's make transforming toys out of them, and that was in the Micro Change line.
Yep.
And that was Bumblebee and Huffer, and all of them were all part of the Micro Change line, but they were super deformed because they were in scale with the Korokyus.
Yep.
So that's the reason why Cliffjumper and Bumblebee are, that way.
They were just picking and choosing everything that they could find. So
Hasbro just took everything. The Hasbro said to Kara, you got this, this, and that. And okay, we need more. Yeah. Ooh, Bandai, you've got this. Let's take some of your stuff. Ooh, Toy Box, you've got,
Jetfire,
this.
Omega Supreme. And yeah.
So all those toys came into the toy line because the first year was all Takara stuff. But by the second year, they needed more.
Yeah.
It just exploded. The popularity of Transformers just went through the roof. I mean, Optimus Prime was the toy of '84 for Christmas. Like that, like people were like lining up, like, do you have Optimus Prime in stock? Like Furby, or Tickle Me Elmo. Optimus Prime was '84.
Yeah.
So, people don't realize that. Like that was one of the hot toys of that year.
Probably still in '85 too.
Yeah.
I couldn't find him in my area for months and months and months. And
85 is when they added the rub symbols to the toys. So that's when they reissued all of the '84's toys and put them back on the toy shelf, but they had rub symbols.
Yeah.
So, finding an '84 version of Jazz is just as hard, probably just as hard as like finding one with. So, yeah. But,
Well, that's coming up on an hour and a half. That's awesome. Because whenever I fire up one of these, I'm thinking, man, if I can get 15 minutes, I'm happy.
Well, I told you I can talk. So, like, it is what it is.
Well, it was a blast. Thank you so much for joining me, taking time away from your family, because, and your work to chat with me. So I really appreciate that. I hope the audience enjoyed this chat right here. If you want to check out Rodimus Prime's YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/Rodimus Primal. Yep. Lots of awesome videos on there. Transformers history, retrospective, all sorts of great Transformers content on there too. You also got a Twitter.
Yep, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitch as well. I've been trying to start gaming a little bit at night, to ease my mind and get my mind off of stuff. And I'm also got my second channel, Rodimus Primal Talks.
Check that out too.
Where I'm doing stuff like, doing a Godzilla review. I know people are going to get angry because I didn't care for the Joker trailer, but that's okay. We're all
like I said, those are those people who are hungry for bait.
Yep.
So.
Yep. But hey, we all have our different opinions. It's all cool, and I thank you for having me on your show.
Awesome. Hopefully, we can chat again sometime down the road on Toy Guys Talking. Thanks everyone for watching. To join the tribe, hit subscribe. Until next time, Nerdmas Day.
Till all are one.
Till all are one.